Hi guys, welcome back. It's Art with Miss Trese, and I'm Miss Trese, or I was the last time I checked. Today we're going to continue on with pencil drawing, and I have a little idea here. Well, first off, can't get away without that. I was thinking that sometimes if you run out of paper, like your really good paper, that there are some other sources of paper, especially if you're practicing. So I went to my recycle bin, and I got a bunch of envelopes and a table knife. And so what I can do is I'm just going to cut these down. This is an old trick. I did not invent this. I want to make that really clear. But look, I now have like extra paper. So I think what we're going to do, our first lesson, we're going to go back to doing Scribble Trees again and have some more fun with that. And I'm going to do it on this paper for starts, and then I'm going to switch to the nice paper because I want you to have a really good idea of what I'm drawing. So here's what we were starting out with. This is sort of an envelope scrap that I pulled out of my recycle bin. And okay, if it's got a little smudge in it, that's fine because we're just practicing. This is another kind of scribble tree. I'm even going to go over the bumps here. I'll kind of make it fun. Bruce Edwards, I'm giving you a shout out. He invented these trees. He is an illustrator and a painter. And Bruce, I stole these from you. I just love them. You can do teeny tiny ones. There were some kids in my class that did ones that were so tiny I could hardly see them. You can make it snowing, like we did with the deer, and bring a little hill in the background. You know, we're going over the bumps, but we're kind of having fun just using scrap paper. And then you could also, since it's winter in this picture, you know, when it's outside and the air is so crisp and cold on a clear day that the air kind of sparkles, so you could indicate that with little sparkly things. You'd have some wind coming into the picture, like this, maybe kind of sort of everywhere. And this was just kind of an old envelope that we were recycling, and now we've got a nice picture on it, or you can recycle it again, but you've learned something and had an opportunity to practice. Another one, we're going to go back to using the alphabet. Remember we did that deer using the alphabet, and so this is going to be a tree that's a scribble tree, but also a tree. It's a Y tree, and you just keep, like we did with the antlers, you just keep doing, just keeps kind of like Ying off there. Whoops, missed that one. And you can grow this any way you want. This tree's leaning a little bit. The wind could be blowing, or gosh, maybe the tree just grew that way. I might thicken that trunk up a little bit so it doesn't fall over. Add a little hill behind it. And then here's the kind of scribbly thing, sort of round and around scribbles. Like this. Kind of fun. Again, you can go light and press hard, or press hard and go light. Whatever suits how you want to do it. Our scribbles aren't going to look the same. Your scribbles are going to look different than mine, which is why I really like doing these. The most fun is when you come up with your own things, and it's really yours. I might do some grass. Maybe the grass is growing if it's spring, kind of like it's doing outside right now. Like this. I could spend all day doing grass like this. And maybe little flowers in the grass. Let's have some bugs. Oh my gosh, the other day I was cleaning my barn, and the bugs are hatching now because it's spring, it flew into my mouth. I should learn to keep my mouth shut a little bit more. All right, let's see. Let's do some birds. Sometimes when you have a bird that's further away, it can kind of be below the tree, and that sort of helps you maybe feel like you're out in the air. So that's that tree. One thing I learned whenever I'm in class and I'm getting to teach, I always get little ideas from some of my students, actually from all of my students. And I just want to show you, this is a little different kind of a scribble tree that I learned from somebody, where it's a little more solid. And look at how nice that looks. They did a bunch of trees like this that were just sort of next to each other. Some of them had the scribble not necessarily all on the top, but I learned this from a student and put a little background there. So there you have some trees. Maybe I'll have, you ever seen the moon sometimes that shows up during the day? Maybe I'll have something like that. So that's that. There's another one I learned from a student. It was just a straight little tree like this and a scribble like this. I thought that was so cool and so much fun. So there's, you could do a whole forest like this one. So I'm always learning from you guys, which is why I really love my job. So this next one, we'll do a little line like this. And there's some of you that are going to know what this is, so shh, don't tell anybody so they can be surprised. So kind of a line like that with a little curve. You're going to need a little bit of space here, and a bump on this end and a bump on that end. And then right below this bump, do another bump. And right below this bump, do another bump. And then inside that bump, do a circle. And kind of underneath that bump, do part of a circle, and then add a dot. And we'll do a kind of a circle right there. Some of you already know what this is. So we've got that going. Come back up to this one here and come all the way back with a big curve like that. And then once you've done that, come back to here, kind of come out a little bit like this right there, just a little bit. Go underneath and maybe stop this right before it's underneath the eye, because obviously that's an eye. And then come back down here. I think you guys are kind of getting the idea of what this might be. And kind of curve up like that a little bit. And then how about some big, sharp teeth like that. Maybe another tooth right there and a tooth right here. I think you guys know what this is. Once you've done this here, you can come underneath there. Just sort of follow that line. So we've got a jaw. There's the jaw and there's the cheek. And then when you have a big head like that, you're going to need a big thick neck to hold it up, and maybe sort of an indication that there's a muscle in there. And I think you guys know what this is. It breathes fire. And I really kind of like to think they're real, but I've never seen one. And when you got fire, you're going to have some smoke. So we're going to use that same kind of action that we used, or if you've got something else, you can do that too, that we used on that one of those trees that we did, on the Y tree, and have it get fainter and fainter and fainter as it leaves the dragon's nostril. It's a dragon, yep. I think you guys figured that out by now. You could smear it like that, make it look even smokier. And those are flames. And then, of course, when you're a dragon, you have to have those big pointy scales that are coming off of your neck. Now, this dragon looks kind of nice. You could leave it that way. But one of the things you can do anytime you draw anything, whether it's a person or an animal or a made-up thing that you just made up, when you have darker lines above the eyes, it's going to make them look a little fiercer, like this. See how that goes? Like that. And then if this dragon's been up all night breathing fire, he can even look worse with bags under his eyes. So there's like a dragon. You could come back in here and, again, with your pencil, sort of fill in. So you kind of go around those teeth like this. However you want to do it. It's all up to you. So there's, and I could put some scales on my dragon, like this. I could even color those big scales in, almost again like we did with scribbles, just to kind of have fun like that. Maybe rub underneath his eyes. You know how it is when you're up all night. There. This next one is something that we're going to do now, but then it's going to show up, I think, when we do our watercolors. So do a nice little line, little horizontal line like that. Pick a point on the line, not necessarily in the middle, but pick a point on the line, and then kind of come out with sort of like a little serpentine line like that. And it's okay. And then you do another one and just kind of make it sort of wider and wider. That could be a road, but I think I'm going to turn it into a river. And maybe I'm in Eastern Washington. Maybe I've driven over the Cascades and I'm kind of coming into Ellensburg, and there are those sort of low-lying hills. I love Eastern Washington. And along the river, remember we've done this before when we've done trees. This is how we start. The closer things are to you, the bigger they're going to get. And what's kind of fun, when you have a mountain in the background, these might be like those cottonwood trees. When you have a mountain in the background and the trees end up, from your point of view, being taller than the mountains, it's kind of fun because it sort of makes you feel like you're there and sort of down on the ground, and you're sort of looking up at those mountains, but you all know that the mountains are actually way taller than the trees, but still. So I think I'm going to go back to those Y trees. We're going to start using things that we've learned I'm just going to build a bunch of them like this. Anyway, start using some of the stuff that we've learned and put it into some of our drawings. But you could do any kind of scribble tree you wanted. You could make up your own tree. If you don't want to do trees along the river, you don't have to do trees along the river. But I'm going to do trees along my river. It's entirely up to you. So here we go. I think this is just like so much fun. Sometimes it's kind of fun to draw fast, and sometimes it's fun to draw slow, but I tend to probably draw fast, which sometimes is good and sometimes maybe not. So there's my base of my trees. If I want people to know that it's a river, I'm going to maybe put some rocks in, sort of along the side. Rocks are going to get smaller. As they get further away, rocks are going to get bigger here. Here we go. Like that. So kind of do little things like this, so that kind of gives an indication that you're kind of down on the river. And the trees, I'm going to come back and do this kind of scribble. But again, it could be winter and you don't have to put any leaves on, because cottonwoods lose their leaves in the winter. So I want to make the scribbles a little bit smaller the further away the trees are. But it's up to you. You know, I love the sound a pencil makes on paper. I don't know why, but I just really like that sound. That's why I like real drawing. I think it's perfectly okay to do, programs on your screen that have drawing programs, but nothing really substitutes for real paper and real pencil. And the other thing is, when you're working on a screen, you're really limited to the size of the screen, but when you're drawing and illustrating, you can choose whatever size of paper you want. And when the power goes out, you can still do it. So we could do, maybe along the river, some reeds kind of coming out of the river. The reeds are going to get smaller there, like this. You could put a fish in the river if you wanted. You can have a fish jumping. And then here, I'm just going to put maybe some underbrush, and it's pretty much mostly just scribble, like this. And remember, the underbrush is going to get smaller the further away it gets, bigger the closer it gets. Just kind of use your, maybe there's a little sandy bank here coming down to the river. Maybe I kind of want to go fishing right now, but I can't because I'm drawing. Kind of come in here again like this. And again, we're just doing this with black and white right now, but if you have some colored pencils at home and you want to go get them and color, by all means do that. We will be doing some color later, but for right now, we're just doing black and white and kind of working on lines. So I'm going to use my little trick of birds again. Kind of nice. Maybe I've got a bird sort of flying down. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but sometimes birds will, like eagles or hawks, will like fly down the river looking for food. So there's maybe one more. There's your river. Thanks again. I hope you really enjoyed yourself. I hope you learned something. I hope you had some fun. And remember, you can go back and look at the other one, and you can always, because I'm so technologically with it, I understand you can pause it and you can play it again. Anyway, take care, and I will see you at the next lesson.